Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to day 4 of Statistics and Probability. My name is Mr. Butler, and remember today, figures never lie, but liars figure. That's why we're doing this stuff. Let's start off and talk about frequency tables. All a frequency table really is it shows the how much one value has occurred. So let's look at this first example. The number of goals by the freshman soccer team last year. Okay, so each of these is their different games, this data set, right? And how many goals they scored in each of their different games. So the frequency table just tells you how many games did they score 0 goals? 1 game. Right? How many games did they score 1 goal? 3 games. And so on and so forth. Okay, so let's look at the first question here. How many games did the soccer team score 6 goals? Just saying, now I'm just looking at when there are 6 goals out there, that happened 3 times, the frequency of 3. We can always go back and look up at the table up here at the data set and see how many times did they score 6 goals. Just those 3. Okay, and what was the most common number of goals scored? That would be what has the highest frequency. Okay, so we're thinking the largest number in this frequency list is 4. So 4 different games, they scored 3 goals. Okay, so the most common number of goals scored was 3. And that was scored 4 times, and we can double check that up there. 3, 3, 3, 3. Okay, pretty good. A lot of games with 4 goals. Good work, freshman soccer team. Okay, so that's it for frequency table. How many times each thing appears? All right, let's go look at the dot plot now. The dot plot is very similar to the frequency table. It just shows it visually. Okay, so basically, each dot is one data point. Okay, it's kind of what it says right here on the second bullet point. And so it's very similar to the frequency table. Let me grab a different color. I'll grab red for this. So let's say when they score 0 goals, that should happen 1 time, because there's 1 dot, and we go up there and we find 0 happens only once, right? When they score 1 goal, that happens 3 times, so we should find 1, 1, 1. Okay, so oops, should have been the eraser there. So that's all the dot plot is. Okay, it's just another visual way to look at our frequency table. So the least common number of goals scored. So now we're looking at the smallest amount of dots. So the 0 and the 7. So 0 and 7 each had only 1 game when they scored that many goals, which 7 goals is pretty incredible. Okay, moving on. Let me go back. Okay, so we've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got every different one all lined up on the dot plot. Okay, so here we are at the histogram. The thing about the histogram is it shows us, again, the frequency. Okay, so the number of times something occurs, but this time it instead of dots, right, it actually gives it up to a certain value, and that lines up with these numbers on the left hand side of the column. Okay, the other thing that's different about the histogram is that we actually give a range for where the values fall in. Okay, so instead of putting every single data point like we had on the dot, on the histogram, we choose a range of values and total up everything within that range. Okay, so we call those ranges or those intervals where the data is recorded. Okay, so in this time, we're saying, in this example, the histogram, the first thing they're asking is, how many data points are in this data set? Now remember, the frequency tells us how many data points. Okay, it tells us how many. So let's look. On the range 0 to 5, okay, we have 1 data point. On the range 5 to 10, we have 0 data points. On the range 10 to 15, we have all the way up here at 4 data points. At the range 15 to 20, all the way up here at 3 data points. Okay, so frequency tells us whatever this data is, 0 to 5 happen once, 10 to 15 happen 4, 15 to 20 happen 3. So all we need to do is add those up for a total of 8. So there's 8 different things in this frequency table. Now the next question asks us some things we notice about this data. So this is us kind of using some of our sense and intuition. One thing I notice is that the data is right skewed. Okay, now what does that mean? It means most data in the upper half. All right, just look at this frequency table here. You've got 7 of your 8 values occurring on the upper half. It seems pretty significant, something that we notice. Another significant thing, the 5 to 10 interval has 0 data points. Okay, that's just something kind of striking that there's no data right there. There's other things that you can bring up in this section too about what you notice, but those are 2 kind of obvious things that jumped out at me. Okay, so next up we are going to make our own histogram, and in order to do that, we're going to have to get a little understanding of these different values. So one thing I like to do is reorder the values and rank them in order from least to greatest. So scanning here, I think we'll start with these 4s. Okay, I'm just going to kind of cross them off as I go so I know. Then we'll do 5, 6, 3 6s, 2 7s, and 8, 9, 10, and 12. Okay, so it tells us our lowest value is 4, our highest value is 5, and our most common value is 6. Okay, as there's 3 of those. So remember, with frequency, we need to split up between intervals. So I'm going to pick intervals of every 2 numbers and see if that works. So 4 to 5, 6 to 7, 8 to 9, and then 10 to 12. Okay, that works close enough, even though 10 to 12 is a difference of 2, and the rest only a difference of 3, and the rest are only a difference of 2 different numbers. That is about as close as we can get it. So this is our interval of 4 to 5, 6 to 7, 8 to 9, and 10 to 12. Notice that matches what we were doing up here with those intervals. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and write those in the base of our graph. 4 to 5, 6 to 7, to 9, and 10 to 12. Now the question is, how often do these values occur? Well, in the 4 to 5 range, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers there. So a frequency of 4 in the 4 to 5 prices, right? These are price per yard of garden mulch. So there's 4 different prices and $4 to $5 per yard. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different prices in 6 to 7, 3 different prices in 8 to 9, and 2 different prices in 10 to 12. Okay, so we can go ahead and mark those on our histogram. We've got to add the frequency values, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, and I'll keep it in red. So from 4 to 5, we should be at 4 prices or 4 occurrences of price. Okay, you don't have to shade in. You're welcome to either way. And then 6 to 7 has 5. It has a frequency of 5. 8 to 9 only has a frequency of 3. So notice whatever this frequency value is here, 4, 5, 3, and 2, that's where I'm setting this top bar for the range, right? And it matches with the number on the left-hand side for frequency. Okay. And lastly, 10 to 12 only has a frequency of 2. And I'm just going to come back and add a little bit of the nice shading in here. You'll typically find these shaded. Every teacher has their own preference, whether they want them shaded or not. Okay, now last step is we can put our units on here so we understand what we're looking at. So this is on the bottom here, we've got, this one. On the bottom here, we've got, dollars per yard of mulch. Right, so there's all these different options for buying mulch, all these different price ranges, and we want to know frequency on the left-hand side, on the left-hand column, how often those different prices appear. Okay, that is it for histograms. Thank you guys very much.